There was a big upset in the Democratic primary for Wisconsin governor. That's where we're starting the 7 from the Washington Post. I'm Hannah Jewell. It's Wednesday, August 12th. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. The race in Wisconsin was not expected to be this close. State Representative and Democratic Socialist Francesca Hong led polls in the Democratic primary for governor for weeks. She had promised to block data centers, tax millionaires, and set up public grocery stores. She also attracted intense scrutiny in the final stages of the race over her past calls to abolish the police and cancel Thanksgiving. But early this morning, the race was called for her more moderate opponent, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley. It was a victory for the Democratic Party's establishment after a number of defeats to more left-wing challengers elsewhere in the country. Crowley will now face Republican Representative Tom Tiffany in November. But progressives did prevail in other races for the House and Senate in Minnesota. In South Carolina, the late Senator Lindsey Graham's sister, Darlene Graham, advanced to a runoff. And Republican Mike Lindell, the founder of MyPillow, lost his primary for governor of Minnesota despite an endorsement from President Trump. You can find all our takeaways from yesterday's primaries in today's 7 newsletter. Democrats are demanding a briefing on Trump's secret flight from Turkey. That's our second story. This week, the Post reported that an Iranian threat prompted the White House to carry out an elaborate ruse to conceal the president's travel. After boarding Air Force One in view of cameras last month, Trump was secretly shuttled to a smaller plane in a catering truck. That covert operation took place without the knowledge of the media and even some White House staff aboard the plane. Trump was asked about the flight yesterday by reporters standing near Marine One.
Why was it too dangerous for you to fly on Air Force One, but not
I don't know.
too dangerous
I
for the
think
press?
actually the plane that I flew on was at greater risk.
Why do you say that?
Greater risk because that would be the plane I think that they would be more likely to go for.
This extraordinary episode is raising questions about the measures the administration took to conceal the president's location from the public and parts of the U.S. government for hours. No law requires the White House to inform Congress of the president's whereabouts, but past administrations have made extensive efforts to keep the public and lawmakers informed. When presidents have engaged in secret missions in the past, officials have typically briefed members of the media and permitted them to share details once the president was out of danger. Number 3 is a Post exclusive. The Trump administration plans to spend at least $900 million on White House construction. This new price tag is significantly larger than has been previously reported. And according to records reviewed by the Post, the cost would be primarily covered by taxpayers. At the center of the plans is a gilded East Wing ballroom. But plans also include upgrades to the nearby Lafayette Square, the construction of a new helipad, and a new visitor screening center. The records show that the total cost of work on the White House grounds could come to at least $927 million. But the contracts leave open the possibility that the work will not move forward as planned and that the money will not be spent. A federal appeals court struck a blow to Trump's plans on Friday. It ruled that the administration needed congressional approval to continue building the ballroom. Trump vowed to appeal the ruling. Number 4. Government contractors have started bulldozing parts of Big Bend National Park. Big Bend is the most visited national park in Texas. The region has the lowest level of illegal entry by migrants anywhere along the border with Mexico, and it is home to critical animal habitats. But that isn't stopping the Trump administration from pushing forward with plans to beef up border security in the park. It's part of Trump's $46.5 billion effort to expand a massive wall and other security infrastructure along the border with Mexico. The plans for Big Bend have sparked outcry from residents, businesses, Democrats, and Republicans. They are worried about the project's impacts on endangered species and on visitors to the park. Polymarket let users bet on wildfires, raising concerns of arson. That's our fifth story. As wildfires rushed down the hills surrounding Los Angeles in January last year, users of the prediction market Polymarket were placing bets. They were trying to correctly predict how many acres would burn, whether the fires would spread to nearby counties, or when they might be contained. They ended up spending more than $1 million on LA fires wagers. Now, as new fires are burning in parts of the country, 9 Democratic senators want to rein in prediction market payouts on wildfires. They warned in a letter that the bets could create an incentive for people to commit arson or hinder efforts to fight ongoing blazes. A spokesperson for Polymarket said the platform does not offer markets on wildfires to U.S. consumers, but its international platform does. Polymarket has exploded in popularity since launching to U.S. consumers in December and has also sparked concerns over insider trading. Number 6. You could cut your risk of 13 cancers by spending less time sitting down. For a new study, researchers looked at activity data from nearly 60,000 men and women who wore a sophisticated tracker for a week. Then they followed up with their medical records for 8 years or so. Using statistical models, researchers looked at which movements seemed most strongly associated with fewer cancer cases. They found that vigorous movement, such as hurrying up and down the stairs, was the most effective way to reduce cancer risk. But also, simply standing up for any period of time reduced the cancer risks associated with sitting. And any sort of movement was more effective than just standing alone. If you've got more time on your hands and don't want to break a sweat, 90 minutes of light-intensity movement is just as good as 3 minutes of high-intensity effort. And at number 7, we followed the data to find out this year's Song of the Summer. Sometimes there is an obvious answer to the question of what song dominates a summer. In 1995, it was TLC's Waterfalls. In 2012, it was Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen. And who could forget 2009's I Got a Feeling by the Black Eyed Peas? Certainly not me. But other years, the answer is a little more murky, especially as music listeners retreat into their own personal streaming algorithms and away from radio and MTV. This is one of those years. So my intrepid colleagues analyzed weekly Spotify charts from 20 different cities across the country and reached one definitive conclusion. That is, it depends where you live. In New York and Los Angeles, Olivia Rodrigo's Stupid Song spent weeks atop Spotify charts. But in much of the rest of the U.S., it was Ella Langley's Choosin' Texas. Our analysis is a very fun article to dive into this morning. It has graphs, it has maps, and it has links to songs to help you decide what you think is the sound of the summer. Find a link to that story in today's 7 newsletter. All right, you're all caught up. You may now be asking yourself, where do I find that newsletter that Hannah keeps talking about? I'm so glad you asked. The definitive answer is, like the song of the summer, it depends where you listen. If you are on a platform like YouTube or Apple or Spotify, you'll find a link to the newsletter in the episode's show notes. If you're in the Washington Post app, you may already be looking at the newsletter, or just search for The 7 in the app. Failing all of the above, just give it a good old-fashioned Google. Sign up and you can get the 7 morning briefing delivered to your inbox early every weekday morning. I'm Hannah Jewell. I'll meet you back here tomorrow.